Good day, students. I am your teacher in Readings in the Philippine History, Mr. John Cyril Pabilona, RL. For the very first chapter of your module, we will be discussing about the Philippine archipelago and its people. And on this chapter, we will be touching about the Philippines, what comprises the Philippine Islands, particularly its geographical foundations, mountains and plains, volcanoes, water forms, general resources, and water resources. Please listen very carefully and actively as we start our lesson. For the geographical foundations, Philippines is an archipelago found in Southeast Asia. Do you know what archipelago means? Archipelago refers to the group of islands and also its expanse of water with many scattered islands. The country comprises of 7,107 islands. Do you know what are the three major islands of the Philippines? Okay, so the three major islands of the Philippines is Luzon, Visayas, and the Mindanao. The shape of the country is elongated and has scattered large and small islands that form as it figure in the map. What can you observe in the Philippine map? Is the land masses of the Philippine map connected, or it is connected with the bodies of water? This is an example of map of the world. Can you find where is the Philippines? Very good. Archipelagic principle of the Philippine territories. For the section 1 of the article 1 of the national territory will be part of your preliminary exam. So please take note of that. The national territory comprises the Philippine archipelago, with all the islands and the waters embraced therein, and all other territories over which the Philippines has sovereignty or jurisdiction, consisting of its terrestrial, fluvial, and aerial domains, including its territorial sea, the seabed, the subsoil, the insular shelves, and other submarine areas. The water around, between, and connecting the islands of the archipelago, regardless of their breadth and dimensions, form part of the eternal waters of the Philippines. If you don't understand the article of the national territory, please visit any online resources to verify facts. Moving on, we will be discussing about the mountains and the plains. Do you know what is an example of a mountain? Can you give also an example of a plain? Let's find out. In Luzon, there are three large mountain ranges found. First, we have the Sierra Madre. Second, we have the Carubalio del Sur. And third is the Carubalio del Baler. Please look at the given images for further information. Aside from the largest mountain ranges, there are also small ranges found in the Philippines such as Zambales Range, the Tagaytay Range, Diwata Mountain Range, and the Central Range, and a lot of more. The highest mountain peak in the Philippines is Mount Apo, located in Davao del Sur in Mindanao. It has a height of almost 3,000-meter high, which have a high source of geothermal energy. So if we shall say geothermal energy, so it is the heat from the earth. It also clean and sustainable. There are also large and fertile plains that have been sources of staple food, fruits, and vegetables for the entire archipelago. Do you know what is the Tagalog of plains? Okay, the Tagalog of plain is Kapatagan. Now let's proceed to the volcanoes. The Philippines is known for its active volcanoes that are scattered throughout the archipelago. Some of the famous active volcanoes are Mount Mayon, Taal Volcano, Mount Pinatubo, Mount Bulusan, and Mount Canlaon. Are you aware of the latest volcanic eruption that happens in the Philippines? Great, so that is Mount Taal. So we also have other land formation. We have the Borol Hill or in Chocolate Hills in Bohol, the Talampas, the Pulo Island, the Lambak or the Valley, and the Tangway or what we call the Peninsula. Water forms. The largest and the longest river system in the country are found in Luzon and in Mindanao. Some of the famous and large rivers here in our country are the Pampanga River, Agno River, Agusan River, and the Abra River. Please look at sample images for further information. The Rio Grande River. Rio Grande Mindanao, also known as the Mindanao River, is the second largest river system in the Philippines. Rio Grande de Cagayan is the largest and the longest river in the Philippine archipelago. So again, we have the Rio Grande de Mindanao and the Rio Grande de Cagayan. There are also some famous lakes found in the Philippines. There are the Laguna de Bay, Taal Lake, and the and the Lake Lanao. The Sinarapan is the smallest commercial fish found in the above mentioned lakes. The seas, which are the important source of fish supply and other marine resources. So in the northern part of the Philippines, we have Kipot ng Luzon and Celebes Sea. For the eastern part of the Philippines, we have the Philippine Sea and the Pacific Ocean. For the western part of the Philippines, we have the South China Sea. And for the southern part of the Philippines, we have the Sulu Sea. So that's why General Santos City is known as the tuna capital of the Philippines since we are one of the supplier no, or the exporter of tuna or any other marine species all over the world. So we also have other water forms. We have the gulpo or gulf, the ocean or karagatan, the luk or bay, and the falls or talon. Based from what you have experienced and what you have observed, do you know what is the Philippines climate? Okay, so we have the wet and the dry season. So for the general resources of the country, first we have the soil and its product or the yamang lupa, the water resources or the yamang tubig, and mineral resources or the yamang mineral. The soil and its product. Okay, so the Philippines have six qualification of soil. We have the alluvial, the sandstone and shale, the limestone, the volcanic, the andesite and basalt, and the mountain. For the alluvial soil, it produces agricultural products such as abaca, coconut, and tobacco. For the sandstone and shale, it is also good in products but the harvest is slower compared to alluvial soil. In limestone, it produces agricultural products, also best for grazing of animals due to its abundance of grass. For the volcanic, these soil are found in the areas where past eruption of the volcano occurs. For the andesite and basalt, generally used for sugarcane plantations. For mountain, this is a kind of soil where trees are found, such as soil in the forest and in the jungle. These are the following images of the soil: the alluvial, the limestone, the andesite and basalt, the shale and sandstone, the volcanic, and the mountain soil. For the water resource, the Philippines, being an archipelago, has 150 million hectares of water with 17,460 miles of coastlines. Because the Philippines has many water forms, active fishing is one of the sources of livelihood for many Filipinos. There are two kinds of fishing industry in the Philippines. First, we have the genetic. The second is the extra active. Now, we will be discussing it specifically. For genetic industry, it covers fish reproduction, fish culture, and fish ponds. This coincides the advancement in fish research that is now utilized in fresh, brackish, and salt water, such as tilapia, the prawn, the milkfish or bangus, the eel, and the catfish reproduction. Whereas in extractive industry, this covers direct fishing in shallow, high seas, and in coral areas. The fish shells and other resources extracted in these areas take a long time before the national replenishment occurs, and in some cases, threats of extinction brought by illegal fishing. So basically, if we shall we say genetic industry, this is what we call the hybrid way of fishing, okay? Which they have this aquaculture, no? They really wanted to reproduce fish easily, whereas an extra active industry, so it is the much more natural way of fishing, like um, they using illegal dynamites and so on. For the mineral resource, are you aware that the Philippines has one of the countries that provided a good and abundant mineral resource all over the world? So in terms of mineral resource, the Philippines is rich in metallic, non-metallic, and fusel minerals. Mining corporations extract the minerals from various uses in industry, commerce, and personal ornaments. Mineral fuels such as carbon and petroleum are used in fueling industries and transportation in the country. In Luzon, after the eruption of Mount Pinatubo became a major spot for quarrying, gravel and sand became too abundant for the use in construction. So we are going to classify the mineral resources that we have in the country. For the metallic, we have the gold, iron, manganese, lead, and the ornaments. For the non-metallic, we have the clay, cement, pyrite, limestone, marbles, sulfur, and upsum. For fusels, we have carbon and petroleum. So now we will be moving to the origins of the Philippine archipelago. So let's trace back how the Philippines was formed through a certain theories. So first we have volcanism. If we shall we say volcanism, the eruption of volcanoes caused by the heat released in the mantle of the earth, thus creating a movement of molten rocks into Earth's crust. So this theory formed part to um, to create the Philippines as a country. Now, we have diastrophism. It is the process of movement on the Earth's crust that resulted in the formation of mountains and mountain ranges. So therefore, that the Philippines was formed through earthquakes. Gradation. It is the formation of mountains and volcanoes after which erosion takes place that led to the creation of rivers, lakes, delta, and other land formations found in the different parts of the country. Land bridge. It explains that the Philippines was once connected to the mainland Asia through bridges of land formed during the Pleistocene or the Ice Age, which was 25 million years ago. So that's quite long. This ends our topic for the chapter 1 or the lesson 1 of your module. To those who are asking about the submission of your modules, if you are in the MWF or TTH class, you are going to submit your modules every Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 11:59 in the evening. For the Saturday and Sunday classes, your modules will be submitted every Saturday on the next session or the next classes.